How are you doing tonight? You doing okay?
I'm pulling these glasses up that nice long sloping nose.
That's a good looking nose you got there, buddy.
I know it's been getting larger because I'm wearing larger glasses, particularly chair side. I'm wearing 6 mags now, and I love them.
Six magnification? They got to be like this
Yeah,
long.
yeah. The nose grows with the magnification, so that always helps. How you doing? What was your day like?
My day was great.
Mhm.
I spent all my day dealing with motorcycle stuff. I watched the
Uh-huh.
MotoGP race, which is the world's
Great.
best motorcyclist racing, as I was watching the race today, for those that are watching right now, that's why wearing my little Ducati shirt because Ducati almost won today, which was I was excited for that. But you and I did an event last week for Dense Play Serona World on whether or not you should upgrade. And I kind of thought about it this when I was watching the race because these two guys were battling for the last for the win right at the very last second, but they were both on what are called satellite teams. So there's factory teams and there's satellite teams. The factory teams have the latest, greatest, hottest bikes, and then the satellite teams have last year's bikes. So these two guys that were about ready to win were on last year's bikes, and one of them won. Franco Morbidelli, who beat Jack
Mhm.
Miller on his Yamaha, and the Ducati came in second. But anyway, both of those guys, up and coming racers, are going to be on the factory teams next year, right? So they're going to have the latest, greatest bikes. And James, would you believe that these motorcycles are like $5 million each? They're
That's a
unbelievably
pretty good
expensive.
machine.
Yeah. Well, they win in tenths of a second, and so anything they can do to make
Sure.
this machine better is going to win them. They're going to sell a lot of motorcycles the next year, and so they got to make these the best of the best. And so
That's
these
amazing.
two rock star racers that were racing today that are going to move up next year, they're not going to want to be on 2019 motorcycles. They're going to want to be on 2021 motorcycles. And when I realized that as I watched the race, it was very exciting. I realized, you know what? You always need to bump yourself up in the technology. Always. You just can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't always go down.
Well, that's kind of where we are right now in our profession, is it not?
Yeah, no. So we had somebody on Keep Sarking, Dr. Yanni Polak. I was just talking to him about
Uh-huh.
an hour ago,
Yeah.
and he's starting his career, and he was talking to one of his technicians, and the guy said, "Well, you should get an Omnicam with the latest Windows 10, everything's Sarek 5, everything about it, and you'll be great. You'll save $30,000." And that's not a wrong answer, but it may not be the best answer. And I think what people forget is that your answer is just for that short term. So you might get the
Hmm.
Omnicam for $30,000 less, but what about in 12 months? 12 months happens in a heartbeat in technology, right? And
It
just like
does.
the
Yeah.
2019 motorcycles, they're not going to build on those 2019 motorcycles. They're going to build on the 2021 motorcycles and make it better and better. And the Prime Scan is exactly it. So I think it would be a mistake to go back in technology. What do you think about that?
Well, each decade of practicing has been different for me, and I think the last decade more things have happened than the prior 3 decades. And we have a great guest because we're going to talk about what it takes to stay in the game for decades in dentistry. But when you really look at the clinical aspect, when I compare Omnicam at the time, I really loved it because I mastered it. The Prime Scan, and we did a program on this together. It moves the bell curve to the right. What we mean by that is the precision, the ease of scanning, the ease of finding the data you need, like margins, being able to scan a full mouth with accuracy and apply that to so many other things than just restorative dentistry. the comparison is not even there. I mean, Omnicam was great. I'd say it's a good quadrant scanner. But if you're going to be practicing for another 10 years, I would definitely move into the Prime at this time, because the level of ease and precision, and what it does is that it cuts my stress down during the day because I can rely on it so well. And there is a difference there. Even having done this for years, there is a significant difference to where the Prime scan is right now in the way it collects data, and also how easy it is to design with it, because I'm this big guy with OCD about margins, right? That's always been my issue. And when you can identify your margins well and you get enough occlusal reduction, you're on your way. And the Prime is the best. There's no comparison there.
Yeah, I'm getting some conversation right now. So thanks for everybody for joining. Sorry for the sound interference. We're getting a little bit of a feedback. So Ryan
Okay.
Cotton, we're really upsetting Ryan Cotton right now. He said, "What's that sound
Hey, Ryan.
interference?" I don't know, Ryan. I have no clue. You know how many things we got going on right now? I have no idea. But buddy, we are trying as hard as we can. So
Hey, Todd, why don't you move it back to just your screen right now, and I'm gonna change something here.
oh no, it's not. It's not you. It's not you. Let's move
Oh,
forward.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna move forward. All right, so this is the thing. I think we got the sound going. So if you guys can give me a thumbs up who are watching, or let me know that the sound is better, I certainly appreciate it. Ryan Cotton says yes. So I think we're good on that. Thanks, buddy. I
It
appreciate
could
you.
just be this little setting here and there.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Ryan.
Ryan's
You're on.
Ryan says right on the floor laughing. So thanks, brother. We appreciate that. So going back to the technology just real fast, and I think it's really easy to get hung up in I don't want to discount this, but the money part of it, and it's totally part of it. But the thing is 2020 is already done. We're going to be in 2021 here soon enough. If you buy technology, that thing is already depreciating every day. It's getting worse
Yeah.
and worse and worse. So if I buy technology from 2015 or 16 when it is in 2025, that is really bad. So that $30,000, Yanni, that I'm looking at you, buddy, that $30,000 that you think you're saving right now is going to be really expensive in 5 or 6 years. So I think you got to stay with technology.
Well, there's tangible and intangible benefits to where we are in technology now. If I had to double check myself going back like 2 years, I'm thinking of how much I'm using it for study models, particularly appliances. With my type of practices, I do a lot of appliances. They're all digitally based. And the ease and precision and delivery of these appliances, I've never seen it this simple. In fact, a lot of my occlusal guards, I'm sending it to the clients in the mail. I started that with the shutdown, and then I follow up with them from there. And I have found that the ease of fit, I'm using this digital nylon with my appliances now, and it's the clinical flow. See, you and I talked about this a while back. Precision and flow over a life of a practice allows you to have more continuity, and that takes away the drain that some of these things can get us into in dentistry when things don't fit. I remember getting something from a lab, and I was thinking of a veneer case I did 20 years ago where I had to have them modified twice, which means you take the transitionals off, you fit the veneers on, they don't look right, so you put the transitionals back on, they go back to the lab. I mean, there's so many examples that I can relate to historically that have been eliminated now with the level we are with precision of digital technology. So if I were to compare the Omnicam and Prime Scan, it's not even on the same road anymore, at least in my hands, because of what it does for me to allow my continuity in place. That way you keep your spirit alive in practice, which we're going to be talking about keeping your spirit alive in practice.
Yes. And before we bring Dr. Jockin in, you and I did a little event for DS World last week, and our topic was basically should you upgrade. So we've already kind of got this through our head. And one of the things that James and I have come up with is that the thing that the Prime Scan does really well is it moves the bell curve to the right, which means anybody can use it successfully. Whereas the red camera, no, you had to have powder just right. The angle had to be right. The blue camera was a little more forgiving. The Omnicam was great. We've done thousands of restorations with it, but you had to be specifically trained on the Omnicam. Now, literally, the bell curve gets moved to the right, and you can put a Prime Scan in anybody's mouth, anybody's hand, and put it in their mouth, and they can use it, right? So, I mean, tell me that isn't a better thing. That's a $30,000 difference right there.
I've done, since we haven't been able to have as many live trainings, I've done a lot of basic trainings online with Zoom, and I carry an office over several appointments with them, and it's amazing to me on how they're progressing so well without a live experience. And a lot of that is because it's so intuitive to use. We don't have a lot of hiccups with scanning anymore. So what we then pay attention to are the basics, and that's prep and an adequate occlusal reduction. And when that works and you know which materials you want to use, you just dial in the proper milling protocol and it works from afar. I've never been able to teach from afar like that before. And most of that is because of how good the system is.
Yeah, it's pretty foolproof. All right, well, I think we've flapped our gums long enough.
I want to go to our guest.
Yes. So we are really happy to have Dr. Sarah with an H, Jockin, come on. I'm so sorry I misspelled your name. That's
okay. You gave my associate a good laugh because she spells her name without an H, and she's like, somebody figured out how to spell your name.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I did it in haste, but I will forever and ever and ever remember how to spell Sarah. So Sarah, you do a lot of technology in your office. I know you place a lot of your own implants and everything. Tell our audience a little bit about your practice and how you're using technology, and specifically our favorite technology you got. Oh, and I got before you do that. Kirsten Andrews says that she loves your necklace. So,
here's to all my epic ladies. I got my epic.
Oh, the epic ladies on. Good. Yes. So anyway, tell us about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Kirsten. Hi, and Karen, I saw you too. Yes, we are a high-tech office for sure. I love to do my own implants, full arch restorations especially. So I agree with James that there is a huge difference between the Omnicam and the Prime Scan, considering how we can now impress full arch with high enough accuracy to store our full arch cases fully digitally is a true breakthrough, especially in my practice. I do a lot of those cases. And actually recently something was wrong with my cable in the camera and I had to have it replaced. It took a couple of days for the cable to arrive. And so we busted out of the Omnicam, and while it is a trusted tool for our quadrant dentistry, I did have to reschedule patients that were getting impressions done for their full arch bridge work, which you never want to do. It was fine. It was all fixed just a couple days later, but it hurt. I noticed how much I do rely on this technology and how much I love it. The fully seamless digital workflow is amazing for full arch. We have the 5-axis mill, so we deliver our final restorations in office, and it's been a really fantastic experience for our patients.
Well, good. And so you have
a testament right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, no, everybody loves your necklace. So tell me about your necklace. I think that's what everybody's more concerned about right now.
Absolutely. So it's one of my many epic memorabilia that I just love to wear. There's a fantastic movement of women in dentistry and digital dentistry. We're a tight-knit group, but very open to other people joining. And it's a very supportive network of practitioners who enjoy digital dentistry, where what was important to me, of course, was that it's not like some man-hating group of ladies that just want to bash the gentlemen, but instead it's a very supportive network of ladies who want to further women in dentistry and speakers also in dentistry. And I really found my peeps. A great way to balance the stressors of what we experience at the dental office, which is what I'm very passionate about these days, because balance is something that we need dearly. And we've noticed this year how imbalanced things can be. And dentistry as a profession can be really stressful. You know, if you really think about what we're asked to do on a daily basis, all of us, we have to multitask at all times, right? Few of us actually truly have one operatory that we have to worry about during the day. Most of us split our time between different ops, whether it's hygiene or operative. We're constantly dealing with different people at the same time. And we're dealing with people in pain often, who are usually not the easiest to be around. And we have to show empathy for all personality types of our patients, you know, whether they're demanding patients or the whiny patient. And we all know that we have patients that we like a lot, and then we have patients that we're not so comfortable around, let's say. And then at the same time, we have to diagnose with super high accuracy, because we don't want to underdiagnose and we don't want to overdiagnose. Now, technology helps us with that. But then also what we have to do is perform impeccable surgeries all the time in an ergonomically totally contorted position, operating a high-speed handpiece that goes 200,000 RPM with water shooting and the tongue moving. So it's a physically really stressful and demanding job. And again, technology helps us here, but it cannot eliminate the reality of what it means to be a dentist. And while we do all of that, then we have to lead our team with fairness and compassion and inspire them to be the best version of themselves. And then we also have to run a business. That's a huge, tall order. And if you think about what happened this year, it's been a super trying, stressful year. You know, in March, we didn't know how long we were going to be out for, and we had an enormous loss of revenue. Few of us venture out to take 2 weeks off, let alone just shut our offices down for 8 weeks, not knowing when we'll start again. And then now we're dealing with patients coming back with this pent-up demand of dentistry, and lots of them are uncertain about whether or not it's safe. Now, most of us do find that our patients want to come back, but often their problems have gotten worse. And so there's the emotional component of that. And then we do this while our country is in upheaval and the political situation is stressful. So everybody is stressed out and on edge. And so it's really important that us as dentists, we take the time to set the patient aside and not put the patient always first, but put ourselves first, because it's not a selfish thing to take care of yourself. In fact, it's an absolutely necessary thing, so we can take care of our teams and of our patients in a balanced way. So the topic of dentist wellness has never been more important than it is now.
Yeah. That, you know, Sarah, that's so well stated. I think about my career and the journey of it, and this year has been tough on me in a sense of where, you know, I like the control of dentistry, and I've made choices within my practice style to keep my passions alive. But this year's been tough because so much has been out of control, and I've really had to think deeply about my mental choices and not let my brain go down a path that would not keep me where I need to go. And I think it's tough times like this that actually define the needs and the attention that we need to pay to in our life. And what you said about taking care of yourself first is very important, because when we're not operating well, we can't take care of others. Even in a marriage, if we're not operating well and we're not healthy, we can't connect as well with our family. And I think that's a universal principle and I'm so glad you brought that out.
Well, thank you for saying that, James. And I really agree with the fact that it not only affects us at work, but also at home. I'm shocked to find out that the Institute of Dental Ergonomics found that 3 out of 4 dentists suffers from some sort of musculoskeletal disorder. And some research that up to 81% of dentists have chronic neck, back, shoulder, arm pain. I've heard of my colleagues talking about how they feel tingling sensation down their shoulder and their arms, how they have numb fingers sometimes, how they get frequent migraines and headaches. And I'm wondering, do we just think that's normal and that's part of the deal? Do we just figure, well, everybody has stress and that's it? Or is it something that we really have to address, which I believe is the case? Because there's a difference between just having stress, and stress doesn't necessarily mean negative. It can be a positive stress as well. But then there's a step further when it turns into burnout. And I did some reading on this subject. Burnout is a complex phenomenon that includes stress, but it's much more than stress. There's a component of physical, emotional exhaustion, which lots of us have at times, but it becomes more chronic. And then there's that aspect of cynicism or depersonalization, where we become so overwhelmed that we kind of withdraw, that our empathy lacks a little bit, that we're not able to take in the other person, but we're just shutting down because we're so overwhelmed. And then the last aspect of burnout is the ineffectiveness that we create from that. So we become so absorbed with our stressors that we're now no longer as effective as we used to be. Work might seem a little bit less meaningful because we're just concerned about getting this enormous pile of stuff done. And so I was joking with Todd that he might be, not spelling my name correctly. He might be suffering from, a burnout a little bit. I don't know. How stressed out are you these days, Todd?
So stressed out. I'm going through a terrible midlife crisis, but I'll get through it.
Oh, dear. So the motorcycles might help.
Yeah. Hey, so Mona, your friend Mona Patel, says, let me throw this up here. She says, Sarah reminds me often the importance of self-care, and I finally have it ingrained in my brain. So why don't you explain that?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So then the question is, what did you do to pamper yourself today, Mona? Tell me, or any of you ladies, what did you do? Because pampering yourself and it's not just for women, it's for guys too, just treating yourself to that time out, to that me time, something other than work and family also, just yourself. So get a massage done, take a nice walk. And of course you can combine this with family, but something that is really just about you. We're not doing chores, we're not taking care of others, where you're truly taking care of yourself. It's these timeouts, we need them, and we need them on a daily basis, not just when we go on vacations. And then, be busy taking photos so we can remember the short moment when we had a good time to then go back to our stressful lives. To me, the term work-life balance is getting redefined, because I thought it was about, not doing as much and having more time to yourself. But really what it also now means is that while you're at work, you have balance, that Monday is a good day, that you're looking forward to seeing your patients, that you have a schedule that doesn't stress you out, so that at work you have balance, because work is life, right? You spend so much time there, and this is where we gain satisfaction and meaning, which I noticed a lot during the shutdown, is that I really missed that satisfaction I got from patients receiving care and appreciating it. That's something that I didn't realize I gained so much gratification from. I was dying to see these patients again.
Let me interrupt you just for a second, because we're getting some responses on what you did today. And Mona says that she went to Costco.
That's great.
Well, so sometimes it's just taking care of errands when you don't have time, So that's, and then Karen Halpern says, I played a round of darts with Jacob and lost miserably. So I don't know if that's
Well, he's a talented kid. You should see him at martial arts. It's very impressive.
Yeah, and then Ray Sanford says, my therapy is piloting my plane. So that's impressive. Go. I think you're right. I had somebody tell me years ago that, and I couldn't quite go to this depth, but he said that there should be one day of the week that you devote to yourself completely. Like, he plays golf every day, or every Friday, and he doesn't take calls. He doesn't have a. I can't make that commitment. I can't. So what I'll do is I'll take certain segments of a day and go, I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to get on the internet. I'm not going to worry about Sarah education or my practice. I'm going to get on my motorcycle, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to be gone for 3 hours and I'm done. And so what do you think about that? Do you think it should be a full day, or do you think it should be hours, or just little increments through the week?
I think it should be whatever works for you. I'd be hard pressed to find a whole day for me to just disappear. But I think that what matters is that you get the true timeout. And if Costco shopping is your true timeout, that's good. There's nobody here to prescribe what you're supposed to do to make yourself feel better. The most important thing is that you recognize those stages where you're like, okay, so setting your own limits. It's tough because for me personally in dentistry, as soon as I enter the office, I want to produce, I want to, get patient care done and pack my day full. I've learned to back off of that a little bit, because if I'm exhausted and just through at the end of the day, I'm not as able to provide the same level of care and also not diagnose as accurately the next day if I'm already stressed out. So if that means lightening your schedule, that's one thing. If that means taking a lunch where I used to work through lunch, that's another thing. Or maybe just take a walk. It might just take 20 minutes. I find that even during the day, if it gets super busy and I feel overwhelmed, taking a 20-second breather helps a lot. So I sit in front of my desk and I tell people not to disrupt me. And I literally close my eyes and I follow my breath for just 20 seconds. And it just brings everything down. Sometimes you have to slow down before you speed up. So I think it's great if you take your motorcycle out for a 50-minute ride. It's a total getaway. Same if you have a boat and you just go out on the boat for a couple hours. Feels like a mini vacation, right? What do you do, Jake?
Yeah,
what do you do for a time?
Yeah, Todd, with that motorbike, you can cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. That's good. Sarah, one thing I learned a few years ago, and it tags right into what you're sharing, is that, my wife is a therapist, and during that journey of her education, we did this brain test, and I found out where my brain strength was, which is upper right. The problem that I've had in dentistry, and a lot of dentists have, is that we have to use all quadrants of our brain. And if we have to work out of our brain strength too long, that creates fatigue. It lowers our brain hormones that we need to stay balanced, and it overuses cortisol, which we need to survive emotionally and physically. And that made a major transformation in my career about 20 years ago, where I changed my whole practice style, my patient flow. I have a hard time with a lot of patients stacked on top of each other. I had this time issue that I have to deal with. And when I changed the flow of my practice to match the way my brain strength was, it made a huge difference in my appreciation of the journey. And sure, within dentistry, there's always going to be challenges, and we have to deal with that. That's what it's, because we solve problems, right? Just not of the mouth, of the emotions of our clients. But when I learned that exercise, and part of that was what you're saying, is that you need to find segments in your day to feed your brain strength, whether that be within the profession or around the profession, and then life becomes more meaningful.
Hey, James, I gotta stop you because you got red hearts going all over your face. I mean, we're almost at 900. Yeah, we hit 900 already.
Well, no, I need to push it. They're going towards Sarah over here like this.
Yeah, bat them over. The epic ladies are digging this show tonight, I think.
Yeah.
So,
And,
Sarah, you got a good fan base right now. Let me throw in some comments. So Bill Clater, he contributes to my digital enamel, and he's just an awesome guy, and he's been to your courses as well, James. He said that the ADA did a study years ago that stated that dentists report being moderately or severely stressed 60 days a year in practice. That's basically that's 5 days per month. So 5 days of your month, you're stressed and having tons of struggles. And Sarah with an H, I think I think you're right on the money, because it's like you got to take time every single day to do something for yourself. And what I loved what you just said a little while ago is that you just get up and you go breathe for a minute. And I think it's not fair when the hygienist comes in and says, "Hey, I need a hygiene check." You're on your way running down the hallway. That's not the time to be relaxed. the time to be relaxed is to go into your office or somewhere where you can just be away or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if they won't leave you alone, because sometimes, people just want to jump in, just excuse yourself to the bathroom and just breathe there for a minute. Just get some privacy and
So I got,
get
so
every
Karen, so
I'm saying just put time out, because everybody comes at us at all times. And sometimes you can't get away from, the receptionist says, oh, this person's in pain, I need to add somebody to the schedule. And then something didn't work out in the other op. And hygiene's like, I asked you 5 minutes ago, I need somebody. Just take a 10-second, it doesn't take long. Just take a 10-second time out and breathe and figure out how you're going to tackle this. Because I found when I got really stressed, when I was at my height of burnout, I would get overwhelmed so easily, and just the littlest stuff would set me internally, and I was excited. And I guess I did reasonably well at the office because, people still scheduled and all of that, but then, it was a different story at home. So it was putting strain on my, poor Jay, he dealt well with it, but I was kind of miserable to be around. And I noticed when I broke that vicious cycle and I started interrupting my day, I actually do it with stretches, chair. So we have a timer that goes off every 90 minutes. And then it's time for the whole team to stretch. And we literally do interrupt patient care for this. We do these exercises where we like turn our hands upside down and roll our shoulders and do certain stretches. And at first I thought the patients would be bothered, but they love it. They do it with us. And you know what? They are so excited that we're putting the team first, and we care about more than just dentistry and the money. We care about each other. And I noticed that acceptance rate went up actually for treatment.
Wow.
And the too, they recognize this is a human being that's taking care of them, and not just a boss that wants to just squeeze the most out of them as they can. Simon Sinek talked about this. I don't know if you caught him at DSW. He made really good. He made the comments about the finite versus the infinite mindset, and wellness for yourself is one of those infinite things that you have to keep going with, and you have to try and get better at without ever trying to win something. It's just a lifestyle change or a choice.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, I think we should stretch right now. Why don't you show us some of your stretching maneuvers?
Yeah, it's a little hard to see from so close because I'm right here, but the one thing you want to start with actually is stand by a wall, put your back against the wall, make sure that the hips touch, the shoulders touch, and then the back of the head touches. And then put your hands up so that the elbows touch and the wrists touch. And at first, this will actually, if you've never done this before, this will really engage your back muscles. And so we start with kind of like a W formation, and then we bring that up to a V. And this is more of a muscle exercise versus a stretch. And you want to make sure that you don't shrug your shoulders up, but that you keep your shoulders down and that you stretch your arms up while everything is touching the wall. And then you can bring it to a letter T and then also to a letter L. And that will, what we're trying to do is open up the chest and contract the back, because we're in this forward hunched position where we do the opposite. Or you could take your hands and clasp them behind your lower back and then stretch out your elbows, stretch out the chest. Or you could do rock climbers where you climb up. And why are you guys not doing this with me on the show here?
I'm doing, look, I'm doing rock climbing.
Why am I the only one here? You guys practice dentistry.
I was doing it.
But you're doing great. It's simple stuff. So just think about shoulders back, and then core engaged, because what we do is we kind of slump forward with our belly. We let our belly hang forward, and then we slump forward with our shoulders, and then we twist our necks, right? So, and then everything just.
How often do you do that a day? How often do you have your team do that?
3, if not 4 or 5 times a day. And so at first I had a timer in my pocket, and then it became like a infection control nightmare. So I just have the ladies radio from, it's time for stretches. And sometimes I lead them through it, and sometimes somebody else leads them through it. It takes about 20, 30 seconds. And it usually adjusts my back. I usually hear something cracking and crinkling. And it really helps also the ladies up front who sit in front of the computer, because we're all focusing on something in front of us. So we all tend to crane our necks forward and slouch. So even the business assistants can really benefit from this.
You know what I love about this? I love all the stretching and everything. What I love about it is it's a reconnection with the whole team every now and then.
Yeah.
So it's, somebody up front may be stressed out, whereas you're just yakking up with your hygiene patient or whatever. But everybody comes together. It's almost like a miniature huddle meeting, like, hey, we're all in this together. Love it. If any of my team members are watching, we're stretching. We're stretching to starting tomorrow.
And you have to, just like any change, at first you'll get a little resistance. People will give you a little pushback. And then once you do it for 4 or 5 days and then you don't do it, they're like, hey, doc, why are we stretching? So they will like it. Just give them a minute to get used to it.
Great idea.
Great.
I love it.
Another thing you can do as a provider, if you're having physical issues, if your back and neck and arms are bothered with the one-sided strain, I now do all of my exams from my offhand side. So I act like I'm a left-handed person. So I go to the 1 o'clock position versus the 11 o'clock position so that I crank my neck the other way every once in a while. And at first, when I started this in May, right when we came back from the lockdown, I could not see the hard palate that way. I did not have the range of motion to actually turn that way. And now I have regained that range of motion to where I can actually see. I have yet to get a volunteer to start drilling from my left, but exams are a good way to start. And I try to become a little bit more ambidextrous by brushing my teeth with my left hand, which is really clunky at first, but I'm getting better at it. Maybe one day I'll drill with my left hand.
Hey, we just wait a second, almost there, right? Right now we just hit 2,000 hearts and 111 thumbs up. Well, look at that.
Hi, ladies.
You've got some great friends. I'm really honored to know you guys. Oh, and we did during the virus vacation, I call it, we did a lot of interviews of your epic ladies. And so why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about it's not really an organization, it's just the friends and what you're doing. And you guys were going to do a national meeting in California. What happened to that?
Yeah, last weekend. We were going to do that last weekend. So, of course, that's where we weren't ready for that yet. In May, we thought, well, maybe in November we'll be ready. So we're looking at 2021. And that's why I kind of gasped when you were talking about your motorcycle store and you were talking about how they didn't want to win it with a 2019 bike. I was thinking to myself, well, who wants to ride a 2020 bike? I don't know. But we will certainly pick up where we left off next year and can't wait to grow the tribe. And I'm sure we'll do plenty of events that are also co-ed, and where we're going to have the dental show live with the ladies. We'd love to interview you one day. It'd be our pleasure to have you on and do a live event that way. Maybe by May next year we'll be ready.
I would love it. I would love it. And I follow all you guys on Facebook and everything. I know James does it as well. And you guys produce amazing dentistry. I mean, I think it goes without saying with Karen Halpern's case that she just posted is just spectacular. And so what I love about, and I'm going to say you guys, which is very sexist, but what you girls are doing is raising the aesthetic bar of CAD/CAM dentistry, and love it. I think it's great what you're all doing.
Very proud of the ladies. Very proud. From you
Yes.
too. That's what we did. We got some big shoes to fill.
No. The guys just have bigger feet. That's all. So why don't we do this? Sarah, you're open to, Sarah with an H, you're open to being on our show again. You're an inspiration. And
Hey, Todd, I saw a funny comment by Karen. Do you want to post that again? About what should she do when her...
Yes. Sorry, Sarah. We got to answer this question by Karen. Let me post it again. It says, how do you stop your team from following you everywhere but the bathroom asking for a friend?
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, very good.
I think it's great when they're around to support you. Sometimes they're just very demanding, so then you need to shake them off.
And I was thinking of this, Sarah, is that Sarah with an H. I like that.
Oh God, this will never stop.
Part of staying healthy and whole is building oxytocin, which is the hormone of connection. And when I watch my wife and the way she's able to connect with her friends, I really see that. And that's something to work on more through, because I can be a loner. I get into my focus of things, and to be able to have that ability to connect with others outside of dentistry just to fulfill that need that we all have to connect with one another. Because when the oxytocin comes up, then our dopamines come up, which gives us a better point of view about life. And I can attest to the fact, having be near the end of my fourth decade in dentistry, I've gone through dips and high points. And when you go through a dip, such as myself, and we get fatigued and burnout, basically another name for that is depression.
Yeah.
And one needs to really be able to recognize that, because that can consume you. And unless we can get beyond that, it can be a tough thing to get out of. And I'm speaking from personal experience, because I had a mountain bike accident in my late 20s, and I've suffered physically from that ever since. And when you hurt and you're practicing, it can really get at you after a while. One way I get my relief is I have my chiropractor is right downstairs from me, and I look forward to going down during the middle of my day and getting an adjustment, and feeling so much better afterwards. So there's little ways for self-care even as we get older.
Absolutely. And chronic pain will do that too. Not even thinking about the production pressure, but waking up in pain is hard. It's difficult to have a bright outlook on the day when you wake up and the first thing you recognize is how you hurt.
And you're in pain. Yeah.
Sarah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I think one thing that makes us unique, let me just cut to the chase. If you're not a dentist watching this, you're like, "Woe is me, dentist! Look at you people crying, like you got it bad. Like, look at how great you got it." Well, people don't really realize how hard dentistry is in general, because we gotta manage a lot of things and not hurt people at the same time. But without that being said, one of the things I think that's been a disservice is and we are all trained this way, all of us. I don't care what dental school you went to. Your expectation is 100. Like, your grade is always 100. You have to be perfect. You have to do this. And so when you're, let's say, 5 or 6 years into a practice, and you can't make things practice, you just don't have the physical or mental ability, then you start to get burnout. And I know this because it happened to me. And what kind of things do you think you could help people that can take the expectations of 100% perfection in dentistry and lay that aside for somebody in dentistry?
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because the profession kind of selects for those people. Bill Claytor is actually one that pointed that out in his lectures, how dentistry is a profession that is looking for people who have high expectations of themselves, who are perfectionists. And you want a dentist to be a perfectionist. I think that, you come out of dental school and you have certain expectations. You're going to do that filling and it'll last forever, and you'll treat this tooth once and that's it. Or all margins are going to be perfect. And then we cement that crown, and then there might be just a tiny sub margin after all, and we beat ourselves up over it. I think that putting the greater perspective is really important. We're doing the best we can given the circumstances that we have. And that's true for our team members, and that's also true for our patients. And if we keep that in mind, we can be more forgiving to ourselves and then towards others as well. But it's probably hardest for us to be forgiving to ourselves for our shortcomings, or not, just seeing something that's 95% and still feeling bad about it. It's a stressor. And I think recognizing it is important, Todd. It's just the fact that you recognize it. And look at us. Here we are, 3 dentists, and all of us have experienced burnout in a significant way that has affected our patient care and our lives. So that tells you something. Who out there hasn't experienced burnout after running their practice and treating patients? I don't know. It is a huge issue, and we don't have enough resources that are readily available or networks that support this issue. So I'm glad it's becoming more of a topic. And that's why I'm so excited about diving in and talking about it, because there are enough dentists out there who are depressed because they're overwhelmed, because they're burnt out. The beauty is you don't have to be. you can get out of this. The question is just, what do you have to do about it? So it's about recognizing it and then doing something about it.
Sarah, you just said something that I think was really poignant. Go talk a little bit more about forgiving, being able to forgive oneself. I think that's really important for people that strive for perfection.
Yeah.
Correct.
Could you elaborate on that a little
Well,
bit?
in 2018 actually was the first, Dentsply Sirona put this on, and Dentsply Sirona is committed to furthering the dentist and the patient experience, which is laudable. It's really exciting how this company is committed to this. And they brought us together for the first epic meeting. That's why it became this epic thing. And so there's a author, and the name escapes me right now. It starts with a K, but she wrote the book Expectation Hangover. When you don't quite get the outcome you were hoping for, how you deal with that. Or if you got the outcome that you were hoping for, but it didn't quite make you feel as good as you thought it was going to make you feel, or just stuff happens, how do you deal with that? And she talked about forgiveness. And she has this book, which is a really easy read. I highly recommend it. Expectation Hangover. And it really talked about forgiveness. And when I read that chapter, I actually did the little exercise that they have in there. And so I'm sitting there and I was supposed to say out loud, because it makes a difference if you say it out loud. I was supposed to say, I forgive myself for, and then whatever, fill in the blank. So I said, okay, well, I'll do this silly exercise. And I sat there and I said, I'll forgive myself for, and then I just thought about it and I was like, well, I couldn't really come up with something terrible that I had done. And so I just said out loud, for not being perfect. And it sounds so simple. And this is a couple that I remember like yesterday. As soon as I said it, I literally felt this weight lift off my shoulders and I started bawling. I was just sitting there bawling, and I realized how I was not giving myself permission to forgive myself for whatever imperfections I have. As a human being, we're not perfect. It was really liberating. And that exercise showed me how hard and harsh I was being with myself internally. The internal little voice, it's sometimes it controls you and you don't even realize what it's saying. So I would highly recommend to meditate. Oh, there, Karen, you're right. Christine Hassler, she's the lady. And this is where I think I met Karen for the first time. So really powerful tool. Meditation is also a really powerful tool on your own if you practice on a regular basis to recognize what it is that you're concerned about internally about yourself, and do that deep soul searching, and not just every once in a while, but continuously check in with yourself and see how you feel and be honest. And I think that has done a lot for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think you really hit a very poignant topic that we all have to deal with. And part of it's, in my retrospect on looking at myself and my colleagues, is a lot of dentists are people pleaser by nature. That's one thing that attracts us to the profession, though there's others. And then we get into the culture of where it may not even be a bad margin and you may not pass boards. And then you get into that culture and that extends into practice. And I like this aspect of being able to be willing to forgive yourself for not being perfect, because inside ourselves, we all have to fight that. I asked this question in some of my presentations is, has anyone laid awake at night over a bad margin? Mm-hmm. The room gets quiet and every hand goes up. And that's a really sad place to be, because you can always fix it. And none of us purposely do bad margins, but we work in a hurricane environment and we're doing the best we can. One reason why I like CAD/CAM in the current level of Prime Scan is because I really nail it well. And I have more control, but yet that emotional side that we have to deal with really comes down to how we live life, even in other areas of our life, is, to be in a good relationship with a partner, you have to be able to forgive yourself, because otherwise you can't forgive others. And part of being whole and healthy in life is being able to forgive others and not hold grudges. I mean, we could talk another several hours on this one, but I thank you so much for sharing that. It's just profound.
I think it goes, I think we need to look at the fact that we all own our own practices. as well. And so that level of perfection that we're trying to do clinically and make payroll and make the rent and do our marketing and a good for everything. We have to be bigger to be able to dump all of that on our drive home. And I think a lot of people can't do that. I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, there's times that I get home, and unfortunately, my wife is involved in dentistry, so she knows all the lingo and the terms. So I can talk to her about how I didn't get the contact on the distal restoration. She'll know what I'm talking about. So she's a perfect one to, dump all my frustrations on in the day. And I think, why don't we end with this, Sarah? Why don't you just talk a little bit about how you're able to keep your frustrations and also successes, obviously, in your practice, and not dumping them all over Jay when you get home. By the way, I love your husband. He's a great dude. Like that guy.
Yeah, he should get together with your wife, and then they can just bash us in private. They probably have the same struggles. So, I talk with Jay all the time because he's also very educated, obviously, but I also try to just kind of keep it at the practice. And especially since I have transitioned out of single ownership, I've tried to just really it's still my career and it's still my passion, but I don't want it to be my whole life anymore. And I felt like for a while I let it dominate too much and I just didn't take enough time out. So segmenting practice from private life a little bit more. I'm still available to my patients 24/7. I still give out phone numbers so that they can reach me in a case of emergency. But I also am insisting on a little bit more me time, Sarah time, whether it's like I said, a meditation or, frequent massage or seeing the chiropractor, these things. I insist on that. And if I can't make it work, something needs to change. I'm no longer saying, okay, well, I should be doing this. I know I should be, eating better or this or that. I'm now insisting on it. And I think that with age, we get there where we don't, in your 40s, you start not putting up with the nonsense anymore. And you decide what's important to you because you've dealt with the nonsense and you've learned that doesn't get you anywhere.
James, you're in your 40s. Do you agree? I think we got every decade represented.
Life
the 40s,
I'm
50. I'm 50.
Life will pass you by quickly. I'm 62 and I wouldn't want to go back because of the wonderful experiences and learning that I've had in life. And one of the things that I've had to address the most in my life is exactly what we're talking about this evening, and that is not being self-critical. It's that movie that you play inside your brain that no one else is watching. And yet that's what projects back out when you're tired. And I've learned from my journey that when I'm tired, just like what you said, Sarah, is that you have to get away, get out of that groove that you're in and find something that almost reboots your heart and your emotions so you can stay balanced. And that's a continual journey that we all have to deal with. I'm really glad that you are talking about this tonight because it's so needed, and it's a conversation that always needs to happen.
And I'm so glad you're providing a forum for me. I really appreciate you having me on. And
well,
really
we're not. Hey, listen. We need to start wrapping it up, but we're not ending until we get to 3,000 hearts. We are like so. I hate to be selfish but we got to at least get it because we need to start wrapping things up. Bill
we know it's later
said,
for you there, so thank you, Sarah, for staying up late for us and for our guests to be so willing to come on tonight, Sarah.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Sarah, thanks so much. And let's, when the Epic ladies get their national meeting going, James and I would love to come and help support you guys. I'll wear
fantastic.
my eyelashes. I've got eyelashes and yoga pants I'll put on. So,
Oh, did you see at DSW? They actually had a wellness section. I like that. They had some breathing exercises. They had a yoga session, which was rather advanced. I couldn't keep up, but anyway, it was a good effort. And then they had some desk exercises. So Todd, if you're wondering what you should be doing with your team members, check that out because there are quite a few exercises there.
I will do it. And we just right this second, God, I'm so selfish, right? Almost, right? Okay. Poor Karen Halpern's finger is probably like burning her phone, like hitting the heart. So anyway, thanks, Sarah, so much. We're definitely going to have you on,
Sarah.
and I want you to start thinking of the next topic because you're an inspiration.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. James, I told you we need to keep these epic ladies rolling. They're such an inspiration. Where guys are just a bunch of downers. We're downers.
Yeah, Sarah was a real blessing this evening, and that's a topic that is meaningful to everyone. The basic yearning that we all have in life is acceptance and love, and we have to be able to healthily accept ourselves first. Learning patterns of behavior that it keeps us up and going. I know you and I have talked about this quite a bit through the years in our friendship, and it's always good where I appreciate you as a friend, where I can share my life and my hiccups with you, and get a sounding board, and those type of relationships help us all. And I think that's probably where I really missed not practicing with another colleague, even though my team, I love my team, and they're very supportive of everything. But to be able to connect with other professionals, knowing the fact that we're all in this together, being the best we can be. And I love what Sarah said tonight, to be able to forgive yourself for not being perfect. Sarah, I write an article on that one. And I think that is just really a very profound point of view on that.
Yeah, dentistry, I think as dentists, we need to be a community rather than tearing each other down. And we can be our own worst enemies locally, but thank goodness we've got social media and different forums and groups that we can be a part of to help each other out. The Epic Ladies obviously have their great organization. And I hate to selfishly say this, but the CEREC technology has a lot of brotherhood, unlike any other technology, and so it's really been fun to be a part of. All right, we just hit 3,200 likes and hearts. Thanks to everybody for a great show. I think this was one of our best ones. Thanks to Sarah with an H, Jockin, James with an S,
yes,
and Todd with a double D. Thanks, everybody. See ya.